Morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Annika Digital. It's myself and Stanley and Brad. It's quite sunny out there today, so it looks like I'm fading into the background. But Brad, you look nice and clear there. That's good. So Brad's going to, we're going to run a poll first of all. Also, you can go and grab the handouts top right. So let's do the poll first of all, and okay, let's start with the first one. So what is your current experience or level of experience of SEO? So me and my company does SEO. We use an agency. Me and my company do SEO in-house. I've previously done SEO in a previous role. I've no experience of SEO at all. So we're going to get a bit of a mixture, I think, this morning, Brad. I'm expecting there to be quite a lot of newbies that haven't got very much experience of SEO. But often search engine optimization, or SEO as we call it, is one of the first things that people do after social media and email. So we should have quite a mix today, hopefully. So, okay, yeah, we've got quite a mix. So 45% have no experience at all, which is sort of what I expected. The next most popular is 30% do it in-house. So that's either you work for a company or you do it yourself, and you're involved in that. And then there's just a couple of people that are either students or they don't use SEO. So yeah, we're at 50% with no experience of SEO. So when we're going through then, Brad, just make sure you explain all the terms for all the newbies in the room. That
I probably should have had an option in there that said I have an understanding, but I don't do SEO.
Yes,
the trainers that are on there.
Yeah, because I think particularly as there's quite a lot of learners, isn't there? So for the people that come to our webinars that aren't aware, we run a lot of digital marketing courses. And so the students from the digital marketing courses actually come on most Fridays. And in fact, we've got lots of new courses starting. So next week we'll be advertising and starting to recruit. So if any of you guys either work for a company that you might have some colleagues that might be interested or know anybody else, please let us know. Okay, so what elements of SEO are you most comfortable with? On-page SEO, which is really about the content. Off-page SEO, which is things like PR and link building. And technical SEO, which is all the stuff behind the scenes of how the website works, whether it's fast, secure, what the code is doing. And that's usually the more difficult bit. So you're probably going to learn these in this order, I guess, wouldn't you, Brad? You'd probably do on-page SEO first.
Yeah, on-page SEO is definitely the easiest to get to grips with, I think.
Now, you might have to close your other one if you haven't already. Oh, yeah, we're getting some answers now. So, yeah, as I suspected, we've still got a few more coming in, but nearly 80% of people are familiar with the on-page SEO side of things, which is sort of what we would expect. Okay, well, thank you for that. Brad, if you could share your slides. So let's just do a little bit of housekeeping then. So Brad is going to share the slides, and when he shares them, they'll be full screen, and you should see arrows in the top right, which can allow you to expand the screen. Both of us are going to turn our cameras off so that you can see more. I'm going to be trying to answer the chat in the background, or doing the best as I can. Before you do that, you might want to go and grab the handouts if you haven't already downloaded them. And then we're going to reconvene about 9:45 to answer lots of questions, and then you'll get a copy of the video later on. So I'll turn our cameras off if that's okay. So yep. I'll do mine first, and then over to you, Brad.
Cool. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, so today's webinar is going to be on SEO, and mainly how to kind of elevate your SEO in 2024. A quick introduction about me. I know there's quite a few learners on here that are probably sick of seeing me teaching them, but my name's Brad. I am head of owned and earned media at Annika Digital, and I joined Annika about 9 years ago now. And previous to that, I worked at another agency for about 4 years as well. My main roles at Anika are around focusing on kind of helping new clients that come on board. So if we have a client that wants to start SEO or they're moving from another agency, I'll kind of audit their websites, look at the SEO strategy, give them an idea on where the websites are kind of struggling, and I'll also help out with the day-to-day SEO kind of setup tasks as well. So doing things like key phrase research, technical audits, that kind of stuff. I also work with the training team at Anika to deliver SEO and website optimization training. So I do both of those days. So if you have been on a course, you'll know who I am, or if you're going to join a course, I'll be teaching the SEO and web optimization days. And a little bit about Anika. We've been around for 17 years. And we're very data driven as an agency. We're all a little bit geeky, and we mainly work with e-commerce and established brands. And you can pretty much put our services into 5 main categories, which comes under strategy, social, search, shopping, and skills. I think my expertise lie more in strategy and search, and also the skills, because I teach on the course as well. So the agenda for the webinar today is just going to be around what's been happening recently with Google. I'm going to go on to a bit about the Google data leak. I'm also going to look at SEO in 2024 and beyond. We're going to look at Google, TikTok, and AI, and whether we need to focus just on Google or whether there's other platforms that we should be promoting our business on, not just from a paid side, but also from an organic side. And then just a quick refresher of the basics and things that you definitely need to make sure you're doing still. And then we'll just finish off with some conclusions. So what's happened recently then? So recently, Google's rolled out more algorithms, as we would expect. In 2023, they rolled out 9 algorithms, so just shy of 1 algorithm update a month. So far in 2024, we've probably got off quite lightly. We had a spam update in March and also a core update in March.
Brad, can you just explain what an algorithm is? Because there's so many, 50% of the people are brand new to SEO. You might just need to explain what that is. Sorry.
Yeah, so an algorithm update is basically the way that Google ranks websites. So Google has a load of different algorithms that essentially decide what websites are good and what websites are bad. If your website does badly, if your website is quite spammy, when Google rolls out an algorithm update, you'll probably find that your website gets pushed further down because Google knows that you're trying to kind of break Google guidelines to make your website better. So yeah, Google rolled out 9 in 2023. We've only had the 1 in 2024 so far, but you will see in the duration for the core update, it actually took 45 days for that update to roll out. And whenever Google rolls out an update, for the duration it takes it to fully roll out, you usually see that there is a bit of volatility in the search results. So your website might kind of be going up and down for those 45 days, whilst Google's trying to kind of perfect that algorithm update. You'll also see that there's a few different types of updates in here. So you've got spam updates, core updates, reviews updates, helpful content updates. Google is pretty much rolling all of these updates into its core update moving forward. So you won't necessarily see kind of helpful content updates moving forward. That will be rolled out as part of a core update. And I believe it's the same for reviews and spam updates as well. So although we might not see loads of different algorithm updates, you might see core updates happen a bit more regularly moving forward. And like I said, we've only had the 1 in March this year so far. So I would expect there to be another algorithm update quite soon. Most likely going to be when I have a week off. And Google also rolled out AI overviews. So AI overviews are basically the the automated responses that Google will put at the top of search results in its results pages. So it uses a bit of AI content that it's scraped from the web, brought it all together, and it will also, in most cases, link to specific websites. So Google held an I/O event in May, which is like Google's main event every year, where they announce all the new features that's coming to Google and things like that. I think that was mid-May, mid-May, I think that was. And they basically rolled AI overviews out to the US. It's not officially rolled out in the UK yet, but it is coming. And we also are seeing AI overviews in search in the UK for quite a few phrases. So Google's definitely ramping up the testing of it. And they have said that once they're happy, they're going to start rolling this out to more countries. They're going to use, obviously, the US as kind of a test bed. They're going to see how people are interacting with it. If you've seen anything about AI overviews, you'll know that people are not interacting with it well. And this is the reason why. Some of the answers are really not that good. So if you put in some really weird things into Google, these aren't mine, these are just what I've taken from the web. But you can see here, AI overviews is providing answers to some of the most ridiculous searches ever. So you've got health benefits of running with scissors. And AI overviews brings up saying running with scissors is a cardio exercise that can increase your heart rate and require concentration and focus. Probably not the best advice. You've also got, can I use gasoline to cook spaghetti? It says, no, you can't use gasoline to cook spaghetti faster, but you can use gasoline to make a spicy spaghetti dish. Bit of a risky one. You've also got how to pass kidney stones quickly. In this one, it's telling you to drink 2 liters of urine every 24 hours. So again, definitely take the advice that Google gives you with a pinch of salt. And there's even one down here that says, what are the benefits to taking a bath with a toaster, which is just ridiculous. So yeah, it's really not that great from a user perspective at the moment. And if you go into any kind of Google help forum, all of the top searches are how to remove AI overviews from my search results, because they're just not that great at the moment. But regardless of that, they are coming and we need to prepare for it. And then unfortunately for Google, it got even worse. So at the end of May, Rand Fishkin, he was one of the original founders of Moz. He posted an article saying that an anonymous source shared thousands of leaked Google search API documents with him. So what this basically meant is somebody found a load of documents that had been leaked out of Google. And this is what led to, obviously, the Google data leak. So in the blog, he basically shared that this person had found a load of documents on, I think it was on GitHub or something. And essentially, they'd got it sense checked by current Google engineers, who then said, yeah, this is kind of like legit Google documents. And what it turned out to be was basically a load of API documents that show what Google is using when it's deciding how to rank websites in search results. And Rand started to kind of decipher this with a couple of other people, and we began to find out a load of information about what Google's doing. And the main thing that came from this is that Google are big fat liars, and they were using something called Nav Boost. And what this essentially is a way that Google measures click metrics to determine rankings. Now, if you pay attention to anything that Google says, they've always firmly stood by the fact that they don't use click metrics to determine how they're going to rank websites. However, the document shows otherwise. And even though it's been debunked in the past and people have said, I've done these experiments and we know that if we get loads of clicks and people converting on our website, we know our website's going to perform better. and still Google continue to deny it. But this is essentially just proof that, yeah, they do use click metrics to decide how websites are going to rank.
So
And
can
what
we
this
just,
basically mean,
yeah.
sorry.
I was just going to ask you to explain what it means from a practical point of view of, if you've got your listing and somebody else has got their listing, why it's important. Because I think, I think you were just about to do it. So sorry,
Yep.
I interrupted you.
That's fine. Yeah, so what this basically means is if a user searches for something on Google, they click the result that's number 2, and they go onto that website, and then they go back to Google, click the result that's number 3. They go through that website, they engage with it really well, they then convert. If multiple people start doing that, Google is going to put the one that ranks number 3 up to number 2, and the one that was currently number 2 is going to go down to number 3. So basically, it's what you call pogo sticking. So when people are going from Google to a web page, back to Google because the web page is no good, back to the next one, that one might not be any good. They go back to Google again, they go to another website, and then they finally convert. The one that they convert on and the one that they engage with is the one that Google wants to put higher up the search results. And that's essentially what they said. Well, no, we definitely don't do that, but we've found out they definitely do, essentially. So it's definitely going to create more of an interest for people to keep track of engagement metrics. I think there's going to be a lot more people that want to do sort of conversion rate optimization because they're going to want to make sure that users are converting on their website and not their competitor website. So yeah, I certainly think that there's going to be a bit of a pickup for kind of conversion rate optimization and people refreshing their websites and making it easier to convert. So yeah, I think if you're currently looking at your website and the engagement isn't very good, the bounce rates are high, the engagement rates are low, the time on site is not very good, and you're not ranking very well, it is potentially a reason why. We also found out that Google has whitelists for certain industries. And what I mean by this is Google will find out whether a certain website is an authority figure for that kind of topic. So when you're looking at travel, when you're looking at COVID, when you're looking at political searches, Google has a set kind of ranking mechanism that says, is this website an authority in this industry? Yes, it is. Okay, we know we can put that one higher than a website we've never heard of before, because especially when it was things like COVID, you can see you've got the NHS, the World Health Organization, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and then the government. You've not got random websites in there that can spread misinformation about COVID. It's the same for political searches as well. They'll put, government websites or political parties at the top because they know that, if it's just a random website, they might be, again, spreading misinformation and things like that. So if you are in these sort of industries, you might think it does give a bit of an unfair advantage, but in this case, I think it's more a benefit to the user because they're not going to be misinformed about certain things. They're not going to say, oh, I sneezed today, that means you've got COVID. You're only going to get actual information from verified sources. So yeah, I think in my opinion, it's a benefit, especially when it comes to health, when it comes to politics or whatever it might be. The less misinformation that's on the web, the better. So although it is annoying if you're trying to rank for these search results, I think it's probably a good thing. And the leak also just reaffirms the need to build a brand. So Google pushes traffic to brands it trusts rather than kind of small websites it's not familiar with. So not just doing digital PR and things like that, but also making sure that, Google knows who you are. If you've just got a website that's got no information about your business on, Google's going to be a bit wary to show your website in Google. The same way, if someone's never heard of your brand before, they're going to be a bit reluctant to buy from you as a business as well. So you want to make sure you've obviously got, all your about us pages, you've got customer reviews, You've got, meet the team pages or whatever it might be. You've got links through to your social media posts where people can see that you are active and you are engaging with customers and things like that. But also it's going to potentially trigger an influx of businesses wanting to push digital PR as a service to get more brand exposure. It's not just relying on getting backlinks to your website. Brand mentions are also going to boost the importance of your brand. It's going to give you more brand awareness. Google's going to find more mentions of your business throughout the internet. And it's going to be able to understand that, all these people are talking about this business over here, and they've got links from these websites over here pointed back to them. So there must be a good business, and therefore we're gonna try and rank them a little bit higher in search. So yeah, I think definitely digital PR is going to be something that is going to become a little bit more important as time goes on. There were also a few other bits in there, particularly around if you've not heard of Double Eat, which is basically Google's quality rater guidelines. I haven't put anything in here, but it suggests that some people use it like a Bible, and in reality, it's not that useful, and you don't have to abide by those quality rater guidelines, straight to the point. But I would definitely recommend going to that link at the bottom down here in the source and having a read through of Rand's blog, because it goes into a lot of detail. Obviously, the leak only happened, 2 weeks ago now. So there's still a lot of probably information that people haven't been able to kind of decipher yet, but there's definitely a lot for people to digest, and there's a lot of information that will be quite useful to you. So moving on to SEO in 2024, and what we need to do to move forward. I think the main thing to take away is settling just for page one anymore is not good enough. I did a Google search here for grass seeds because I'm currently trying to get rid of all the weeds out of my grass and put new grass seeds down. And you can see here, this is the search results. This is going to be tiny on your screen, but this is the search result that I was given. And you can see you've got 4 ads right at the top. And then under that, you've got organic shopping listings. The fold was probably after that first ad. So all that you've seen when you Googled for grass seeds is those 4 ads. You didn't see any of this because you had to scroll down. But you can see under the ads, you've got organic shopping listings. Under the shopping listings, you've then got people also ask boxes. And then finally, you've got your first organic result, which is miles down the page. Now, you imagine if you were position 9 on page 1, you might be saying, yeah, we're on page 1 for this key phrase. But in reality, who's actually scrolling down to position 9? A very small amount of people. You might get 20 or 30% of people scroll down to the bottom of page 1, if that. And an even less percentage of people are actually going to click on the listings that are that far down the page. So, as I said, aiming just for page 1 anymore isn't really good enough. It's not going to move the needle as much as it used to. And in this search result here, the thing you've got to bear in mind is it hasn't got an AI overview. Once it gets an AI overview, that's going to jump in around where these ads are, either above the ads or below the ads, and it's going to push everything else down. So that means the first organic result is going to potentially be even further down the page. So if you are relying on getting clicks when you're ranking position 7 on page 1 or something like that, then you're definitely going to struggle with clicks moving forward. I would definitely recommend that you try and aim for top 5 on page 1. So when you're looking at your website's SEO and your strategy, have a look where you currently perform. You're probably going to find that going from position 7 to position 4 for key phrases is going to provide a lot more benefit for you as a business than going from page 3 or page 2 to the bottom of page 1. So don't just dismiss keywords that are already on page one and say, we're on page one for them, we don't need to worry. You should be aiming to get them as high up as possible on page one. The other thing that I'm seeing more and more of now as well is organic shopping listings. So these are becoming a lot more prominent in search and is definitely an area that needs more focus moving forward. So if you are an e-commerce business, you need to be taking you need to be looking at the key phrases that you're appearing for and seeing, do organic shopping listings appear in the search? If you sell a product and someone searches for a product, I'm 99% sure you're going to see the organic shopping listings box look like this on page one. And it's usually right at the top as well. So traditionally, Google Shopping, people use it for paid shopping ads and things like that. They just put automatic rules into their feed that rewrites a product title and does certain things to it. However, you need to be considering what your feeds look like from an organic point of view now. So you need to make sure, the product titles are optimized. You've got all of the right images on there. You've got all of the boxes filled out. Hopefully, if you're an e-commerce store, you've got reviews to that products like here. But you need to make sure that you're considering the organic impact of your shopping feeds. These are only going to get more popular, and they're also going to start to be included in AI overviews. I've got a slide, either the next one or in a couple of slides time, where I basically show what the AI overviews is going to look like from an e-commerce point of view. So yeah, when it comes to your shopping feeds, you can either have a single feed for PPC and SEO and then put in overwrite rules wherever you need to, or I do believe you can create two separate feeds, have one that's just for paid and then have another feed that's just for organic. So yeah, definitely take a look at that. And if you need to improve the feed to show up in organic shopping results, then I'd recommend making those changes, especially if you don't organically perform on page one in the traditional results. This is a good way to start pushing organic clicks through to your website. We also need to think about topic clusters and how we position our website as an authority in certain areas. So we can't just rely on optimizing our grass seed category page on the website and then saying, we've got this one page on our website about grass seeds, we're going to perform number one for it. Google doesn't necessarily work like that anymore. Google's looking for you as a business to show that you're an authority on a specific topic or service or product or whatever it might be. So rather than just having that single category page for grass seeds, Google's looking that you've got blog posts, it's looking that you've got guides, it's looking that you've got FAQ pages, it's looking that you've got other supporting content that might help people out. It's essentially looking to see that you can educate potential users about that product and that you're answering all the questions that they might have. So instead of just having, like we used to a few years ago, a category page about grass seeds and it's got all the products listed on there, you now have to look at, you've got your category page, we've got a blog post that links back to the category page, we've got a guide, maybe that links to the blog post, we've got FAQs on the site and they link to blog posts, they link back to the category page. Everything's linking together, and instead of this one single page, you've got like a cluster of all these different pages that are all pointing links to each other, and showing Google that you've got, the knowledge to be able to promote this product and know what you're talking about. And when I was actually doing a workshop the other day, I randomly clicked on this website that does it really well. So if you want to see how it works and what you should be aiming for, we don't work with this company. I have no idea who they are. I just went onto this website and thought they were doing a really good job. And they also appear number one for grass seed. So this is the type of setup that you need to look at taking on for your website. So they've essentially got their category page, they've got their product listings here, but you'll also see in their category kind of description, they've got a link through to the grass seed help and advice, and also a link to grass seed FAQs. If you click on help and advice, it takes you to a page over here, and they've got dozens of articles about how to sow 100% micro clover seeds. Why should I overseed my lawn? how to sow grass seeds, how long does it take to grow the grass. I've got tons of articles all about grass and the grass seeds and how to apply it and what you need to do and how it can help you, and what time of the year you should be doing it and that sort of stuff. And then they've also got another page full of frequently asked questions that's all about that specific, those grass seed products. So how to sow grass seeds, how to overseed your existing lawns. Do you need to add topsoil when you're overseeding a lawn? Do you need to add fertilizer? Do you need to aerate your lawn? They've probably got about 100 FAQs on there that answers all these different questions about it. And that's them showing not only to the user and helping the user out, but showing to Google that they really know their stuff. And Google's more likely to rank a website higher because when it's got tons of content on the same topic, because Google knows if they know all of this stuff, they obviously know that industry, and we can trust them that they're going to give their customers the right type of product, and they're a reputable company. So when it comes to topic clustering and things like that, have a look at how this website's doing it. They do it for their other categories in the navigation of their website as well. But yeah, definitely have a look at what they're doing, because they seem to do a really good job of it, and they're doing well in Google. So yeah, it's definitely a good example to follow. The other thing that we need to look at are faceted navigations. So this is essentially on the DFS website, for example. You click on corner sofas. Traditionally, you'd have a set of filters down the side, and you could say, I want a leather one, I want a reclining one, I want a grey one, and it would filter the products dynamically and only show you those products. That's great from a usability point of view, not so great from showing up in Google, because those filter pages, what you would call a dynamic page, they're not there officially. It's just a mechanism to filter. So none of the content changes. All that changes is just those products on that page. And typically, Google doesn't show those filtered pages in its search results. What you need to be looking at doing to uncover more organic traffic and get more people to the website is look at adding in some of those filter pages, but making them static. If you create static pages instead of filter pages, they're a lot more likely to be indexed by Google and other search engines. And that's because they're static pages. They've got unique content on them specifically related to that type of filter. So instead of having a filter for fabric corner sofas and leather corner sofas, DFS have actually created static pages for them. And by creating these static pages, you can create thousands more impressions and clicks for your website. So I basically just took a few of these pages and put in a couple of different colors. So I put in leather corner sofa, corner recliner sofa, gray corner sofa, beige corner sofa, and so on. And just from these 8 or 9 key phrases, there's actually 114,000 searches a month in the UK for those key phrases alone. And that's 114,000 potential customers that could be going to your website, because not everyone's taking this approach on their website. It is becoming more widely adopted and more people are doing it. But at the moment, not everyone's doing it. You've got certain companies that are massive and it takes them years to roll out any kind of navigational changes to the website. You've got companies that operate worldwide, and if the UK team wants to implement something, they have to go to the head office, which might be in Germany. Germany will take a year to approve that, and then it will take them another year to actually go and build it. So by creating static pages for different types of variations, this is not just for furniture, but if you do clothing or whatever kind of products you do, have a look and see what filters you've got on your website. And if you've got plenty of filters on there, then just do a bit of key phrase research. Say, okay, we sell leather 2-seater sofas, but we don't have that as an actual page on our website. It's just a filter. So if I go in Google, use Google Keyword Planner and have a look at searches for leather 2-seater sofa, how many searches has that got? If it's got 10,000 searches a month or something, then definitely go away and create a page for it. So where possible, start looking at this as a tactic. As I said, there's not as many people doing this. The competition's going to be a lot less. So although you might struggle to rank for the phrase corner sofa because you've got DFS and everyone up there, if you've got a page that's for grey corner sofas, which the leaders might not, then you've got a lot more chance of showing up for that, and it's still got 15,000 searches a month. But we also need to think outside of Google as well. So although Google is what we talk about whenever we talk about search engines, when we're doing training, we talk about Google search. This webinar is about how to appear in Google. We also need to pay attention to what's outside of Google as well. There are definitely other search engines that are taking more of that market share away from Google, and they're becoming more popular. Although, we're talking from 93% share of Google down to 3% for the next one, and 1% for the one after that, they are still growing. So Yahoo is up 17% year on year. Bing is up 1% year on year. So although it's only 1%, it's still going to result in millions of visits. Google is actually down year on year, so you can see that there are other people taking a little bit of that share away from Google. You've got Brave on there, which is up 53%. You've got Perplexity, which is up 200%. Think about what other search engines and what other platforms there are in terms of getting your website found organically, or getting it found even for your ads and things like that. If these websites are all growing, then they're only going to continue to be more popular, really. But don't just purely focus on Google because, like I said, if you're optimizing for Google, you are essentially optimizing for Bing. So you might as well look at how you're performing in Bing as well. If you've got a Google business profile, there's no reason why you can't have a Bing business profile. Bing make it really easy, and you can just import your Google business listing into Bing. So if you haven't set one up on Bing yet, go over there and get one set up. You've also got like Apple Maps and things like that where you can set up listings. But we also need to think about TikTok as well. So TikTok is quickly becoming kind of like a default method for people searching online. Search volumes for gardening for beginners is 5,500 searches a month, which isn't an insignificant amount if you can get found on these platforms. Meanwhile, the same search in Google has a search volume of something like 880. So that on TikTok is a lot different. And also things like gardening ideas, there's 40,000 searches a month in Google. It is almost half on TikTok at 22,000, but that's still 22,000 people that you could also be targeting with your website. Obviously, it does depend on you creating video content and things like that. But if you haven't seen any of Anne's recent talks about TikTok and as a search engine, then I would definitely go in and have a look through those. I don't know whether she's done one as a Friday webinar yet. I think it's just been a conference talk that she's done. But yeah, definitely start to consider what you need to do to get in front of this audience. This is stolen from Anne as well. But essentially 41% of Americans use TikTok as a search engine, and 64% of Gen Z use it as a search engine. 49% of millennials use it as a search engine. And 10% of Gen Zers are more likely to rely on TikTok than Google. So it's definitely shifting. I'm not sure it will ever get to a point of really competing like for like with Google. But that being said, TikTok wasn't even a thing a few years ago. And now it's one of the most popular, or if not the most popular app in the world. So you definitely need to consider what you can do with TikTok. You can also use it for things like influencer campaigns, and I think it's like a 5% commission you have to pay. But apparently, the results are really good from that. But yeah, there's definitely sources outside of Google that you need to kind of be aware of, and try and get in front of, not just to help your SEO out, but just from a general marketing point of view. That's where the customers are, essentially. So yeah, definitely have a look, and see what you can do from that side of things. The other thing we need to make sure that we're doing, like I said before, is preparing for AI overviews. So whether we like them or not, they are going to arrive, and they are going to dominate the search results. They're not rolled out in the UK yet, but I am seeing, if I search in Google for digital PR or PPC advertising, I get an AI overview come up. So I'm probably in that pool of people that Google's testing it with, which is probably one of the worst people to test, because I pay no attention to them whatsoever, apart from to see who's there so that I can steal the spot from them. But you need to be considering how you can feature within these listings. So when we're looking at AI overviews, we need to have a look at what websites are listed in there. Are our competitors listed in there? Is it blogs that are listed in there? Is it guides? Is it like listicle articles where it's like the top 10 different things, or top 10 products, or top 10 businesses that you need to speak to if you want to do this? And then we need to think from a digital PR point of view again. So if a specific website is featuring, can we get coverage in this publication? So you've got here, say, Search Engine Land, you've got Forbes here. There's an ultimate guide here to PPC advertising. Can we, as a business, get listed on the Forbes website? So potentially, if someone clicks through to that, they see our brand. We also need to see what type of content it's scraping for the actual AI overviews, and seeing whether we can, write similar content on our website so that it uses our content. But yeah, what essentially can we do to get our website showing up in the AI overviews? Like I said, if it's mostly blogs, then we know that we should probably write a blog on this topic that covers all of the different FAQs and all of the different things about this specific topic, so that we've got more chance of being shown in the AI overview. There are tools as well that are tracking this now. So we use SEO Monitor at Annika, and they now have an AI overview tracker that basically shows us day by day what the AI overviews look like for specific key phrases, and we can go through and see how much it's changing. But the one thing that I am noticing at the moment is the majority of things that are listed in AI overviews are blog posts, especially if it's not a transactional key phrase that I'm searching for, and it's just PPC advertising or something. The majority of things that come up are blog posts. But we also need to consider what AI overview is going to do to the e-commerce industry as well. So this is a search query for good bikes for a 5-mile commute with hills. If you search that in Google and it didn't bring up an AI overview, Google's going to show you a load of different category pages. What Google's now doing with generative AI is giving you specific products. So it's acting a lot more like a personal assistant than it is than traditional searches. So instead of saying, "Oh, here's a category page with 1,000 bikes on that are good for commuting, why don't you sift through all these yourself and have a look at what you want?" You can start to interact with the Google search and say, "Okay, yeah, good bikes for a 5-mile commute with hills." You can ask a follow-up question. So you could say, "I want one that's got an electric motor on it." Then it will narrow it down and give you a few different products. You can narrow it down even further and then say, I want my bike to be blue or whatever, and it would then just show you the blue ones. So we need to consider how it's going to impact e-commerce queries when this eventually rolls out to the UK, because Google is more likely to push your products in this than it is likely to show your category pages. So again, like I said before, it just bolsters the need for e-commerce websites to really consider how they're integrating product feeds for organic search, because these aren't ads as far as I'm aware. These are genuine product listings from websites. So particularly if you're selling a product from another brand, like if you were selling this brand of bike or whatever, you need to make sure that your feed is as good as other competitors. You need to make sure that it's priced the same as the competitors, so that when someone clicks on this, it brings your website up and shows your product listing and says, oh, there's $1,400 here. It's $1,400 here, but it's $1,600 here. You want to make sure that you are competitive with pricing as well. So yeah, when AI overviews eventually rolls out to the UK, it's definitely gonna shake things up and change the way that we need to look at how we're marketing our website from an organic point of view. And we're going to see a lot more products driving traffic than we are category pages, specifically when it comes to generative AI and the AI overviews. Traditional results, it will still be the same. If you said, I want a bike for commuting, it'd bring up category pages that has all the bikes for commuting with. But specifically AI overviews, it's going to be a lot more product led than category led. And then finally, obviously, I just don't want anyone to forget. Sorry. I don't want anyone to forget the important basics. That cough's made my eyes water. We need to make sure we're getting the basics right. So on-page SEO, we need to make sure we're optimizing our title tags. We need to make sure they're the right length. So, are they between 45 and 59 characters long? Is my meta description between 130 and 155 characters long? Although meta descriptions don't matter for rankings, they do entice people to click through to your website. Google will rewrite it on its own if you don't fill it out. So it's not the most important thing to be doing if you've got thousands of pages without them. However, if you can write them yourself, you're more likely to be able to include the right calls to actions. Like if you're an e-commerce store and you do free delivery, then you can say, we do free delivery. You can say get next day delivery, whatever it might be. We need to make sure that we've got our H1 tags. We need to make sure there's a single H1 tag on the page and that it's not duplicated between all the different pages. We need to make sure that the page body content's there and it's optimized for our target key phrases as well. I actually did a little test with one of our clients a few weeks ago where we literally just changed the page title and the H1 tag and also put a couple of key phrases in the main part of the body content. And we tried it on 3 different pages and all of them improved straight away. So although people will say, oh, stuff like this don't matter, Google's not paying attention to your title tag or whatever, it definitely is paying attention. So, make sure you include your keyword where possible. The other thing to bear in mind is making sure that you are looking at page speed and core web vitals. So from a technical point of view, page speed is always becoming more important. Google actually changed the core web vitals assessment in March. And if you don't know what the core web vitals is, it's basically a set of metrics that Google uses to measure how effective a website is when it's loading and whether it jumps about as it loads and whether the user experience is good. So it uses these 3 metrics here: largest contentful paint, which is how long it takes for the main part of that website to load; interaction to next paint, which is how long it takes if you start scrolling down and you're lazy loading your website. Does it take ages for your images to start showing up? If it takes ages, you're probably going to fail that one. And also cumulative layout shift as well. So cumulative layout shift is basically if you go onto the Leicester Mercury website or anything that's plastered with ads, you'll see that the page loads and then something pops up and pushes it across and you click on the ad by accident. Google's trying to eliminate stuff like that from the web. So if your page shifts about as it's loading, you'll get a poor score for that and also fail the core web vitals. There's also some of the metrics down here, but they don't matter anymore. Google only uses these top 3 to measure whether you pass or fail the test. It used to use first input delay, but since March, it changed it to interaction to next paint. So if you were passing prior to March and you've not checked since, just go and check, because now they've changed the metrics that they're using. You might now be failing. And again, it does carry a minor ranking boost compared to sites that don't pass. So if you had a website that you're equally matched on your optimization, you've got the same sort of authority as another website, you pass Core Web Vitals, but your competitor doesn't, Google's more likely to show the one that does pass the Core Web Vitals. And then finally, just on off-page SEO, backlinks do still play an integral part to SEO. Although you can rank without links, you're a lot more likely to rank with the links there. So building links to your website obviously helps build authority. So domain authority, although it is a made-up metric by Ahrefs and Moz, you can often correlate a higher domain rating with more traffic to your website. It's not a Google metric, but it's just a correlation there. So the higher you get your domain rating, the more likely you are to see better rankings and more traffic for your website. So you need to make sure you're keeping on top of links pointing towards your website. And also, if you subscribe to something like Ahrefs, just look at the broken links to your competitors. That's one of the most easiest and quickest wins that you can do, is either fixing broken links on your own website. So this is where an external website is linking to your website, but it links to a page that you've deleted. Go in and remove that page and redirect it to a page that does exist, so you still get some of that authority. And you can also do the exact same for your competitors if you've got a tool like Ahrefs, where you can put in your competitors, go through their links, see the ones that are going to broken pages, reach out to that website that's linking to them and say, I can see that you're linking to this website here. They've actually removed that product or that service from their website, but we still offer that. So would you mind updating the link and pointing it to our website instead? So there's definitely ways that you can impact that pretty simply. But in general, off-page SEO is definitely the most difficult thing to kind of affect and have an effect on when it comes to your SEO campaigns, because essentially you're relying on other people linking to your website, and in most cases people aren't that bothered because they're not going to take time out of your day to specifically link to you. But that's why digital PR comes in so handy, because you're reaching out to journalists that are going to, speak about your business and link to you as well. So just to finish off with some conclusions then. The SEO landscape is rapidly changing, and if you're not adopting new techniques, you'll quickly be left behind. So yeah, as Google evolves, as AI overviews roll out, the way that Google displays websites is going to change. People are going to find ways to get more effectiveness from their website. So you need to make sure that you're keeping up to date with what's happening in the industry at the moment. Google could roll AI overviews out to the UK this afternoon. They're probably not going to pre-announce it. It's just going to happen one day. So you need to make sure you're keeping on top of everything and keeping an eye on what your competitors are doing. I also think conversion rate optimization should be on your radar. Maintaining users and having them engage with your website and convert is going to help your performance. As we've seen, Google pretty much does use click metrics. So if you're getting a website that converts really well, then you're more likely to perform better in a search. The only caveat is we don't know how much weight Google puts on these metrics that it does look at. But you can pretty much assume if you're on page 1 for a key phrase and your page isn't converting very well, you're probably going to start to see it decline. If you get onto page 1 and you start improving that page and more people are converting on that page, you're more likely to see it go up. You also can't rely on single category pages to rank well. You need to use content clusters and build an authority in a topic, and show Google that you really know your stuff. We know that the basics still matter, and simple changes to page titles and H1s are going to have significant impact on ranking still, at least on little tests that I've done recently. And being happy with just a page 1 ranking isn't good enough anymore. You definitely need to be aiming for the top spots, aim for the top 5, aim for number 1, aim to get your website, if you're e-commerce, into the organic shopping listings, aim to get in the people also ask boxes. Make sure your images are optimized so you can show up in Google image search. You can't just rely on your category page being number 8 on page 1, because it's just not going to kind of cut the mustard anymore. And that is everything. So hopefully you all found the webinar useful. And I don't know if there's any questions in the chat.
Yeah, brilliant. If you could unshare your slates a minute, I'm just going to show them an AI overview, a real live one, and then I'm going to actually click go first. But if you guys just like to have a look at what I've got here, I'm going to share my entire screen. That was really good, Brad. There was one area that we forgot to put in the slides, which was my fault, so I should have picked it up on it yesterday, and that is local. But let's just do this first. So I had to do about 5 searches to get something to come up. But if you guys try this at home, what is Leicester Digital Live, and see if you get an overview, then you'll know whether you're one of the accounts that have got it. And then if you actually then go down, you've got the show more. And you can then, we actually are rebranding our Leicester Digital Live, which is interesting because we'll probably have to, was previously Leicester Digital Live to get advantage of all the SEO that it gets. Yeah, so if you can see that, then you've got, and you can see that it's AI overview because you've got this little star thing there. So just coming back to, I'll stop sharing my screen. Just coming back then, there was a few questions I didn't quite understand about clicking through, but I wasn't sure whether that was because they were talking about clicking on the Freya. Who I was asking about clicking through. So I wasn't sure whether she was talking about the AI overviews where you click more, or whether she was talking about when you go onto our webinar page and you can click the slides at the bottom. So if in doubt, just try, I think I would suggest. Carla's asked, can you clarify the last point of your conclusions? I can't remember what that was now.
Being happy with just page 1 rankings was the last one.
About all the other things that get in the way.
Yeah, so yeah, just being happy, not being happy with page 1 as a whole generally isn't good enough anymore. Focus on trying to get into the top of Google, because if you're the bottom of page 1, you're not going to see that a massive amount of clicks. But there's also way more opportunities to have your website show up, whether you show up in the people also ask boxes that show up, whether you appear in the image section, whether you appear in the organic shopping listings and things like that. There's loads of different areas where you can kind of get more of a visibility.
If you could leave Brad a review, that would be amazing. Just sort of, obviously he spent a lot of time. I think he's spent half this week training, so I think he'd appreciate some love from everybody. One of the places that we didn't talk about today, which I was just saying before I shared the AI overviews, was local listings, because they can take up a lot of space as well. But for some people, they're actually almost easier to get into. Has there been big changes this year with the local listings?
It's pretty much more of the same, I think. Reviews still matter. Proximity to wherever someone's searching still matters. Citations, so whether you're listed in local directories with your name, address, and phone number, that all still matters. So, yeah, I don't think there's been huge shakeups in the local industry, but I'm yet to see what a local AI overview looks like. So, it might be that it completely changes things around.
So somebody's just asked about what is Leicester Digital Live. So Leicester Digital Live is our annual conference. This year would have been our 9th year, because I think most of you know that Gurpreet's actually leaving us, and we're currently recruiting and have interviews for a new marketing manager next week. We're going to delay the conference until probably February, and because the agency is specialising in e-commerce, there'll be more talks that are specifically around e-commerce. But you've got to remember, some of the stuff that we do in e-commerce first then filters through to everything else. So just because you've got an e-commerce conference, a lot of the marketing like this would be relevant to you, whether you come or not. So we're expecting that to be February now. Originally it was planned for October. It's just not going to happen in time. The other thing it is sad that we're losing GoPro. She's amazing. She's going to be going to work and do what Brad does. Actually, she wants to become an SEOer, and unfortunately, we didn't have quite enough work within the team. And I think she also thought, well, if she carried on at Annika, she'd get lumbered with all the other jobs that she was doing before. So, so I think she's making a clean break of it. But I know she's listening, so we all wish you lots of love, and you'll be amazing, because you've been amazing here. You'll be amazing there as well. What I was going to say to you, Brad, was it's quite nice that all the things that we've been banging on about for the last 15 or 17 or 20 years, in my case, all those things that we thought were really, really important, actually, that was the stuff that was really important. And it was some of the other stuff that Google was, they were almost chucking red herrings into us, weren't they? And saying, oh, this is important. And actually you went and looked and that, no, this isn't as important as our experience was telling us.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting with that leak. So they've not had a very good year, have they? I mean, every single time they release anything to do with AI, it goes wrong. So the Bard release was a complete nightmare. So they've rebranded it as Gemini. They originally called this AI Overviews SGE, and they've had it in labs for ages, but it wasn't kicking out as many results. And then they go live, and suddenly everybody finds all these problems with it. And then the algorithm changes has caused loads of controversy as well, because they've been getting rid of really well-known, sort of trusted, good quality blogs and replacing it with really crappy spam. So the community are pretty angry with Google at the moment. And if you add in things like PPC, where they just don't give you the data anymore, and performance is a black box, which has caused PPCs to go up by 30%, you can see that why search engines like Perplexity and Brave and DuckDuckGo are just growing in importance. And then younger people, they're not even bothering to go into Google at all. So it's a very, very interesting time. And the impact of the AI overviews, when they've done studies on this, is really significant. So we are planning to do a talk on optimization for AI overviews. And I would recommend, if you can, go in and look at my slightly longer presentation and webinar on this, because I think you'll find it quite useful. I did it a couple of weeks ago, but I think you'll find it quite useful. But anything on local, do you want to add, Brad? Is there anything?
No, I don't think so. I think you've pretty much covered everything in that now. But yeah, I just find it funny that Google actually dug Rand out when he did a experiment years ago, didn't they? And said that Rand talks nonsense, don't listen to him. And he was right the whole time.
Yeah. I think he was felt quite vindicated, didn't he? And there's been a lot of slagging off, and some of the AI overviews have been really dangerous as well. It's not just stupid mistakes, but I know so what happened when it was announced, there were loads and loads, and I got loads of examples and screenshots, and then they just sort of disappeared. So it's actually quite difficult to find them at the moment, because they've really rallied back or railed back on it. And I was sort of finding, like, if you did digital marketing agency in Leicester, there was an American agency that had literally created a page for every single city in the UK, ranking, and they weren't even in Leicester, and you're thinking, well, this is just rubbish. So okay, well, look, thanks very much, everybody. I don't think there's any more questions. I don't know if anybody from the Annika team knows what's happening next Friday. I know we're taking a bit of a break over the summer. So there's going to be about a 5-week gap. Last week in July and the rest of August, there won't be the normal webinar, and then we'll relaunch it in October. Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, everybody. Have a great weekend. Don't get too wet if it's thunderstorms, and we'll get you the videos out in about an hour. All right then. See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.